This is a Most Fearful Sacrifice. It's from Flying Pig Games and it covers the Battle of Gettysburg. Now the actual game that you can see here is on a 10-foot table, 10 foot by 4, but you could fit it on an 8-foot table with a bit of messing around. You might have to sort of place a few play aids on top of each other, things like that, but I'm sure you could do it. Now in terms of actual components, the mat board is magnificent. It's a piece of art, basically. Now when I first saw this online, it didn't look so good on camera, but it looks a lot better in reality than it does on camera. It's a beautiful piece of work. The counters are really good, substantial, thick counters, pre-rounded. Can't complain about them. Excellent stuff. Got some nice play aids here for your command displays, which cards go on here. You've got markers and everything, decent quality, nice and thick. One thing I will say about the play aids, there's only one set of play aids and they're double-sided, and sorry about the glare. There's got stuff on both sides, so you end up turning them over multiple times, which is something I don't like doing. It's just one of my little foibles, but it would have been nice to have 2 sets or have them printed in such a form where they weren't printed on the back and you didn't need to turn them over. If you look at the rule book comes in at a very nice 31 pages, and that includes quite an extensive, or what they call a comprehensive example of play. So it's got a table of contents at the front, and it's also got an index, which is excellent. You know I like my indexes. Scenario booklets. There's 15 different scenarios, and we've got a cat here. 15 different scenarios covering everything from the full 3-day battle to individual small sort of assaults on various positions. It's actually got a 4th day at Gettysburg scenario, which I mind having a look at. As well as that, there are a couple of other games in the series. There's this is called the Black Swan series, which was based on the Blind Swords, I think. I might be wrong about that, but it's the other games are Rocket Chickamauga, and there's a Pipe Creek, which is an extension of this one, which covers a hypothetical battle where Meade decided not to fight at Gettysburg, but to actually fight at the place he wanted to actually meet the Confederate Army, which was at Pipe Creek. The mat boards, I've already said, I didn't mention that these are mounted mat boards, and there's actually 2 mat boards. Now, this Flying Pigs always tend to do this, and they have these gigantic mat boards, and you can end up playing scenarios on a tiny little bit of it. I have no problem with that. Some people do have a problem with it because you can be taking up a lot of table space even though you're only doing a little scenario. One thing I will mention as well about the cards, and a nice thick cardstock. They're like got a matte finish to them and everything, but I did notice that they, unless I've got a duff set of cards, that the edges were starting to fray away on some of the cards. So you're going to have to sleeve those, otherwise I think they would deteriorate quite rapidly, because you're going to have to constantly shuffle that stack. You have to shuffle it each turn, and new cards are coming in all the time as reinforcements and stuff arrive. The actual game system, as you've seen, it's quite a simplistic set of rules, and what they've done with this is that even though this is a bit of what you'd have to describe as a mini monster, they've gone out of their way to make it an easily playable and non-fiddly, which I'll explain in a minute, game. And the fact that there's only like you don't have facing on here. Units have different types of maneuver, depends whether they're moving in column or moving in line. So they don't have unit facing. You don't have like hit points. Well, you do have hit points, but you don't have like hit point markers. There's only one marker needed to show all the various states that a unit can go through as it's being damaged in combat. Now, as I say, it's an interesting concept that someone's gone that way, and I'll be interested to see how this plays out. I've no idea how it does, although other people have said it's very good. It's also easily soloable. Even though there's cards in it, it's got two types of cards. It's got event cards, which are very similar to what you'd see in a card-driven game, but the heart of it is actually what is effectively a chit pull system with cards instead of chits, if that makes sense. In terms of learning the game, as I say, the rule book is quite small. And also there are a lot of really good online videos that cover how to play. There's a great example, Wayne Hanson's done Learn to Play, brilliant video, and there's also another one by Stuka Joe, which gives it's about an hour and a quarter long, that goes through another example of play in great detail, covering the rules. That's really good as well, and there are loads of other videos. So it's a well covered video, a game if you like, learning things from videos rather than sort of trawling through a rule book. Right. In terms of the battle, I won't say much about Gettysburg. I think pretty much everybody knows this battle. It's one of the most famous battles in world history, and it's one of those ones, a bit like Waterloo, that it's spawned a whole series of what ifs. You know, what would have happened if a certain corps had been in a certain place, or a certain thing had happened. So quite a few of those are covered in the scenarios, and also, as I've mentioned, that Pipe Creek is an entire module that covers a what if. There's a scenario that looks at Pickett's charge. What if he had an extra 8,000 troops? What would that have done? Would it have made it a possibility to succeed in that charge? There's a good thing about it, because it's an encounter battle where the two sides sort of accidentally ran into each other. There's not a huge amount of forces on the board at the start. You can see elements of Heth's division coming in here, and there's Union cavalry under Buford's command here that are standing in the way of the rebels getting to Gettysburg. And apart from that, there's a few elements of the Union First Corps knocking around here. Or was it called First Division? I'm not sure, I can't remember. And there's also units of the 9th over there. So it's one of those games that, as the battle sort of builds up, you'll see a lot more units arriving. Anyway, that's pretty much all I want to say. It is a premium product, it's expensive. This is the second printing. There were, as far as I know, the system's been launched on Kickstarters and things like that. I think that gives everyone a pretty good idea of what we're up against here. And let's just step away a bit and just have a look at the actual map. All that stuff in the top left hand corner, that's a bit of Gloomhaven stuff I was playing recently. And there we are.